Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
What are your thoughts on what's gone down there in the Jacob Markstrom situation? There's a lot of finger-pointing going on, and it's just ugly. What's your take on it?
Yeah. Well, it's not going to get any prettier, Rod, unless Jacob Markstrom ends up getting traded between now and Friday. And there's still a possibility of that. We know that Tom Fitzgerald and the New Jersey Devils, who did something drastic to start the week by firing Lindy Ruff, still feel like they're in it. Now, they're a long way from the cut line, but, post-trade deadline, you still have an ample amount of regular season action to maybe claw back. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fitzgerald, in fact, I know he's going to take at least one more run at Craig Conroy and Jacob Markstrom. I believe that Markstrom wants to go to the New Jersey Devils. So what I would wonder, if you're Conroy and the Flames, is it prudent to sit out and wait now, thinking that, all right, well, we might be in the playoff mix here as well. That was a big loss last night, by the way, to Seattle. Is it prudent to wait and see if the market gets better? Keep in mind, Jacob Markstrom has a no-move clause. If he wants to go to the New Jersey Devils now, and he wants to go to the New Jersey Devils in the summer and nowhere else, well, then guess what's going to dictate the terms of that trade? It's going to be Jacob Markstrom and his no-move clause. So, I think we can also all appreciate the predicament that ownership, management, and the Calgary Flames are in. No different than the New Jersey Devils. Try and envision a playoff team of the Calgary Flames that doesn't have Jacob Markstrom in goal. It's a tough thing to come to terms with.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
Catlin Schneider, fresh off the ice. I'm getting roaring reports, Catlin.
Yeah, that's a big one. Knocked off the last remaining undefeated team. So you don't see that very often at a Brier on a Tuesday. It's a dogfight out there. There's a lot of crazy things going on, a lot of upsets. It's going to be fun, and we just got to keep our head down and keep doing what we're doing.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Get on up inside. It's the RP Show on a Wednesday, right? Episode number 1195 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. And we've got breaking news today. We got a couple of big stories on the table. I am here. Moose Promise is at the Brier, the Montana and Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, the Canadian Men's Curling Championship, where it is now, I think, day 6. You get to the point, Darren, as you well know. They're all like Groundhog's Day, right? All the days run together. But I know that they're getting heated up and ready for the playoffs. We have a trade. And a big one in the NHL. We're going to get to that right away. Yeah, I got a lot to get to. So before we do, and I will tell everybody that our guests today are SiriusXM NHL Radio Scott Laughlin. I listen to him every day. It's going to be fun. The Elliot Friedman of the SJHL, Jamie Neugebauer, will be with us. And Jamie Cooey, the skip of Team Northwest Territories at the Brier. He's a fan of ours. We're Facebook friends. Not a big deal. Humble brag. Jamie Cooey will be with us later on today. Moose, what do you got? What's your report?
Yeah, the Brier's off to a great start this morning. Saskatchewan is playing Jamie Cooey, so that's a real good battle going on well. But hockey, I wanted to get this out of the way. And I want to, send out a big thank you to Logan Stankoven and Wyatt Johnson. The Dallas Stars were down 6-3 with less than 10 minutes to go in the third period. Those two engineered the comeback. They won in overtime. And that win means I didn't go 0-9 in the breakaway bets. That was my only win last night. And it came in overtime after a big third period comeback. Rough night with the breakaway bets for me.
I was just going to say, what are you celebrating? They didn't save your ticket. And I did add it up.
No.
You went 1-8. Don't want to say 1-8. I was 6-3. So look out. Start spreading the news. Rod's really paying attention to hockey now, and he's kicking some ass. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan, and we'll go from there. Ba-boom, ba-ba-boom, ba-ba-boom. Well, hey, it's the big story. This has usurped the Brier and what's going on. And trust me, we will get to that. But we have a trade, and this has come down in the National Hockey League. It's quite apropos that in the pre-show, the guys played a clip of Darren Dreger from TSN talking about the Florida Panthers getting in on things. And Dregs, he's so good. He's like, they're going to be in. Whether they do something or not, they're going to be in it. And the Panthers are in it. They've got Vladimir Tarasenko coming from the Ottawa Senators in exchange for draft picks. I think we all know the Tarasenko show from primarily his time in St. Louis. But then last year he was traded at the trade deadline, as you know, to the Rangers. Didn't do a whole lot in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then this year he's been in Ottawa. I think he signed a $5 million deal, did he not? And a one-year deal with the Sens. So now he's coming to Florida. People are already writing in to our Cats and Bolts podcast saying, what are your thoughts? Serena and I are taping that later on this afternoon where we save the Panthers and Lightning talk. All I'll say is they're not giving up a whole lot, a couple of draft picks, which I understand do turn into players down the line. The problem I have, Darren, is the Panthers have won 12 of 13, including 6 in a row. They won it in New Jersey last night, and they shouldn't have. I don't know why they need Vladimir Tarasenko. And I don't know why teams aren't in a rush to hold on to a guy like that. There's got to be a reason they're not. But for a short-term rental like this doesn't hurt at all for the Panthers. That's my take. What's yours?
Yeah, it shouldn't hurt. Anytime you can improve your lineup and get better, I think that helps. You realize that goal scoring is a lot more difficult in the playoffs. So the more guys you have that can put the puck in the net, the better off you're going to be. I think, Florida didn't give up a lot. We're hearing a couple of draft picks. Haven't seen the full details of the trade. I just came across my phone a few minutes before we went to air. But, you're not giving up, hard, core assets. I think it's a win for Florida, and it can't hurt.
And for Ottawa, it's a good deal, too. I will say this, having been around these hockey people here, Ottawa just overly disappointing. People aren't big fans of the coach there, DJ Smith. He's not there anymore, but they feel that he didn't accomplish much in his time on the Senators bench. It's a train wreck. They're starting over. Sorry, Ottawa fans. If you didn't know already, you're starting over. It's a rebuild, and this is actually probably a good trade for both teams. So that's the big story number one. Can you hit the quick six show horn again, Director Jordan? We'll get back on track. Had it not been for the Florida Panthers acquiring Vladimir Tarasenko from Ottawa, this would have been the big story. Tyler Smith's PEI rink, Prince Edward Island, is 4-1 heading into day 6 at the Brier in Regina today. He's attempting to become the first skip from PEI to reach the Briers final in 28 years. PEI faces defending champion Brad Goushew's 4-2 team in the morning draw. And that's the thing, I'll say it again, that I've always had a problem with curling. It's not curling's fault. But 3 games in a day, 3 draws is just too much. So I'll do the update here. Where are they? They're playing 8. Quebec and Alberta tied 5-5. Goushew's up 10-3 on PEI. That is in the 8th. None of it leading Nova Scotia 5-4. This is, and Sask is leading the Territories, Jamie Cooey, 8-4. So, yeah, there we are. Are people cheering for none of it because they haven't won yet, Darren? And they might pull one off today, beating Nova Scotia. Is that a thing at the Brier?
That is a thing.
I figured.
People love to root for the underdog. So if none of it can pick up a win, I think that'll go over really well. And Goushue is back to being Goushue, and he's really laying at the PEI this morning. He's playing really well. So fun morning.
Okay, moving on to our NHL leftovers from last night. It's so last night. Games. Leon Draisaitl scored 2:18 into overtime for his second goal of the game, and Edmonton beat Boston 2-1 for their 5th straight win. That's not a small thing. That could be a Stanley Cup final preview, and the Oilers won it in overtime. In L.A., J.T. Miller scored on a power play, 1:36 into overtime, and Vancouver beat L.A. 2-1. In Nashville, Nick Suzuki scored at 17 seconds of overtime to lead Montreal to a huge 4-3 upset win over Nashville. In Winnipeg, Andrei Burakovsky scored a power play goal with 2:39 remaining in the third period to lift Seattle to a 4-3 victory over Winnipeg. And I was a little surprised, the game that I was watching closely, the Panthers should not have won in New Jersey, and here's why. It was back-to-back nights. They had just won over the Rangers in New York the night before. Anthony Stolarz, the backup goalie, was starting, and it was the dead cat bounce. It was the first game for New Devils coach Travis Green. It was 2-0, like 2 minutes into the game. Or 3 or 4 minutes into the game. But very quickly, the Panthers were up, and Lindy Ruff somewhere was laughing. Nick Cousins had 2 of the Panthers' goals. They beat the Devils 5-2. And it spoiled the debut of interim Devils coach Travis Green. But I will say this, it actually dovetails into this. I don't want to spend any more time on last night's games because there's just too much else to talk about. The poll question is this. It's for Key Auto Group, and at the Key Auto Group, they're driven by safety. Experience peace of mind with our comprehensive multi-point inspections. Visit keyautogroup.ca for automotive excellence. The question today is, and if you don't like it, blame me. I came up with it. Which of these bubble teams is going to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs? The New York Islanders, the Washington Capitals, the Seattle Kraken, or the Calgary Flames? Which of those 4? And there are actually 2 other bubble teams just on the outside, the Blues and the Penguins. But it doesn't matter because I voted for the New York Islanders. Patrick Roy's got him on a heater. He really does. They went into St. Louis and won last night. The Islanders are on a roll. I'm not saying they will make the playoffs, but I think they have the best chance of all these others of making the playoffs. And I'm pulling for them because of Patrick Roy. Moose, who are you voting for? Which bubble team do you think will get into the Stanley Cup playoffs, if any of them?
I kind of am with you on the Islanders, after the game last night against a good St. Louis team that's played better and, is trying to be a playoff team themselves. I'm going to stick with you on this one and go the Islanders. I think there's enough firepower there on that team. They've got enough pieces. Goaltending is okay. And I think Patrick Roy could be an X factor. So I'm with you on the Islanders.
It's quite interesting, by the way, I'm looking at that, and I had absolutely no doubt whatsoever that Patrick Roy was going to have success with the New York Islanders because I think anybody that hires Patrick Roy is going to have success. He's that kind of guy. His agent, Gil Scott, probably watching right now, is a really close friend of mine. Nobody can figure out why Roy wasn't getting a look in the NHL last summer or the summer before that. But Islanders have a need. And was he blackballed? Were they colluding not to hire Patrick Roy? Nobody knew. And I can dang sure tell you Patrick Roy didn't know. But I think we all did, that are fans of Patrick Roy, if a team's desperate enough in terms of wanting to win, they'll hire him. And it'll be something if he gets them into the playoffs. Because I remember when the Islanders came through here at Sunrise, they were playing way above their heads with Lane Lambert on the bench. And the buzz in the press box was, this team has no business playing as well as they are. Credit to Lane Lambert. He got them as far as he could. They ended up getting fired. He ended up getting fired. And now Patrick Roy has them on the cusp of getting into the Stanley Cup playoffs, or as we've all said, the best chance. And by the way, they're the runaway favorite of our voters, the Islanders, to get them in. That's the thing. Darren, there are people that are blackballed, like Mike Babcock's never going to coach again. He ain't coaching again. And he probably, I don't know if he knows why or not. Doesn't matter. Roy couldn't figure it out. He's not much younger than Babs. Mike Keenan's a guy, though, that I remember in the 90s after he was done, or early 2000s, whatever it was. He was over coaching in Russia, and there was a quote from Mike Keenan saying, I don't understand why people won't hire me. Don't they want to win? And he had won a Stanley Cup with the New York Rangers in 94, right? So it's not like he was a boob. So I guess that's the whole thing where I go back to, you just never will figure this stuff out. You just never know why some guys get a chance and other guys don't get a chance. We'll never know, right?
Oh, I know. And, whether, everybody's got a preconceived idea about who somebody is, and, how often will you see people form their own opinion, right? Or take somebody else's word for it. So that plays a role too, but some of these things are unexplainable, but sometimes you just need to be patient. And when the door opens, be ready to step through it. Patrick Roy was ready to step through it when the door opened in New York, and now he's got to make the most of it.
Be patient and be ready. Very good advice from you, Moose. From the audience, Brent in Wellington, Florida, writes in. He says, so whose day do the Islanders ruin? Lightning or Detroit? Don't know. And at this point, we're not examining that, but it's a good question. John Ohm, you know John Ohm in Winnipeg, writes in and he says, after watching the Seattle Kraken last night, I think they will burst the bubble and get into the playoffs. Well, we say this every year. Not only are all 16 teams that make the playoffs good, there's no doubt. It's officially half the league deserve to be in the playoffs. There's good teams that will miss. If you've watched Seattle, they're a good team. Newsflash, some good teams will miss the playoffs. And by the way, Clark has put this up on the ticker for those that are watching on streaming right now. Ottawa retains 50% of Tarasenko's salary, and going to Ottawa are a 2024 fourth-round pick, that's this year, and a 2025 third-round pick. That first one's conditional. I'm not going to get into this. This is a win for the Panthers in a lot of ways. They only got to pay half his salary. It's prorated anyways, and they give up a couple of draft picks. I'm not going to sit here and say who won. It just happened less than an hour ago. But you know what, Darren? I bet the Ottawa's happy too. They're like, we're not going anywhere. We don't need or want this guy. So let's get some picks. I'm sure Ottawa's happy.
Yeah, I got to stockpile assets and really maximize your return. People will say, well, Tarasenko should have been worth more than a third and a fourth. Yeah, at one point he was a first-round draft pick kind of guy that you could trade for, a second-round pick for sure. The production's tailed off a little bit, but the potential's still there. He's still a valuable piece. He's not going to come into Florida and be a top-line, player and put up over a point a game, but he's going to contribute, and he's going to be a real asset in a team looking to make another deep playoff run. I think giving up a couple of mid-round picks is okay. It's good for Ottawa to get some of those picks back, and away we go. I think it's a good move.
The thing is, I don't think they would have made this trade if Bill Zito had not conferred with Paul Maurice and said, hey, we have a chance to get Tarasenko. What do you think? That really seems to be the way that the Panthers roll. So it's a win for both sides. Just saying, Kevin the Medium has checked in. Kevin the Medium is up and at him and ready to roll. Hey, Kevin the Medium. Dayton, he's a Hamilton Tiger Cats fan, writes in. Dayton says, good morning from the Brier. I had a nice chat with Moose this morning. Can't wait to see how the weekend shapes up out here. So nice to see you being a man of the people, Moose. Giving me a break. I like it. Randy writes in from Strasbourg on the Sober Carpenter text line, 902-518-3033. And he says, FYI, Moose's booth at the Brier did have two women from Northern Ontario sitting in the chairs. Not sure if they were monkeying around with the equipment, though. Another great show. Well, somebody was monkeying around with it, but it wasn't them. I know for a fact it wasn't them. That people want to sit in those chairs on the set at the Brier and take photos and post them to all of their social media. We encourage that. But don't touch anything else. But I saw the photos of those two nice ladies from Northern Ontario, and they're not the kind of people that would muddle things up and screw with our livelihoods. You know what I mean? So anyways, we'll be right back. We got Scott Laughlin coming up from SiriusXM NHL Radio, Noogsy, and also Jamie Cooey. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. As you should know by now, when we talk hockey, it's for Common Crown Brewing out of Calgary. Check them out at commoncrown.ca. They know the best beer is the one that's earned. And we do have breaking news today. Big trade. The Ottawa Senators dealing Vladimir Tarasenko, the enigmatic forward, the flashy forward, to the Floridas for a pair of draft picks. Let's bring the Moose in, and while we do that, Brent in Florida writes in, and he says, I love the trade. Florida has the same issue as Edmonton. Behind the top two line, they have very little offensive output. Tarasenko should help with that, and will help power play too as well. We'll see how he likes... we'll see how the people that are on PP2 like being demoted. That's where my worry is in all of this. It was going along just fine, don't you know? They've won 6 in a row. That's all that I'm saying. And my God, I know. I have flogged that fish to death. Yeah, your thoughts, Darren? What do you got?
Well, the other thing we're going to find out is does Tarasenko enjoy playing in the sunshine and living in Florida? Because that's a big change too, and you don't think about this with a lot of players. Scenery matters. But he played in St. Louis, not a warm destination. He played in Ottawa, not a warm destination. How's he going to do in Florida? I think, Sometimes that can make a player really happy and comfortable. Sometimes it can be a distraction. Should be fun for him.
You know what? It's really interesting you say that, because now more than ever, and these general managers aren't dumb. Well, most of them aren't dumb, nor coaches. But this type of player now, and Ryan Huska went out of his way to explain it this summer on this show at Century Downs Racetrack and Casino when we were doing the show live in Calgary. Today's player needs to feel comfortable. They need to, he didn't say feel loved, but I'll say it. They need to know where they stand. And I know for a fact here in Florida, they all do. Matthew Tkachuk's on record as saying that. I'm not going to go into any further to any. Well, we will get into this later on when we talk about team culture, because that's coming up. So far, we've spent a lot of time on NHL trade deadline talk, NHL leftovers, and we got some football coming your way here right now, and baseball too. But I just want to update the poll for our friends at Key Auto Group. Which bubble team in the NHL is going to get into the Stanley Cup playoffs? Your options are the Islanders, Capitals, Kraken, and Flames. And leading the way, the New York Islanders, coached by Patrick Roy. And as Jim Wagner writes in on the Sober Carpenter non-alcoholic craft beer text line, Jim writes in and says, channeling my inner John Frenzy, Patrick Roy is a winner all the way. Good day, all. Isn't he? And, you know, that's why we keep the memory of John Frenzy alive. I've got his photos in my phone, and quite often I go through them, and it's a little bit of a tug at the heart, but I'm not going to delete the photos, for God's sakes. He's a winner all the way. Patrick Roy and John Frenzy. Now, Trevor writes in from Red Deer, Darren, and he says that Calgary Flames definitely won't make the playoffs. I'm on board with you guys. Patrick has the Islanders in a groove, and I'd love to see them sneak into the playoffs. Spoiler alert, or how would I say this? I don't think any of them are going to make the playoffs. Any of these ones we mentioned. I don't. And by the way, we'll be discussing this later on the Cats and Bolts podcast, where we try to keep this specific to Panthers and Lightning talk. But you saw that the playoff pairings came out, Darren. They're going to change a million times between now and the end of the regular season. But do you know who the Leafs would play if the playoffs started today? Do you know?
No, I don't. Tell me.
The Boston Bruins.
Spicy.
Where?
Yeah. Although I was on record last year saying that I wish they would have played Boston instead of Florida. Remember when everybody said, we want Florida? And I'm a believer that if you're going to exercise the demons and overcome, you got to overcome the adversity. You can't avoid the adversity. And for Toronto, the adversity was the Boston Bruins, right? Being up in that last game 7, blowing that lead of 4-1 or whatever it was, or 3-1. And you can't avoid adversity and get ahead and accomplish. You have to face it head on. So I think the only way for the Leafs to really face the adversity is to play Boston and not be afraid of him. You got to play him and you got to beat him. So I'm okay with it.
God, I admire you. As Chris Baudry would say, my good friend, Humboldt Broncos former assistant coach, he was with the team the year of the crash, but he wasn't on the bus that day. He said, if you want to heal, you need to look the devil right in the eye. And stop this avoiding it and dancing around it. He would know. I would know too. And you just said that. The Leafs should want to, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, is what you're saying. So you're not afraid of the Boston Bruins. Bring them on. That's what you're saying, Moose, in round 1 from a Leafs perspective?
That's what I'm saying. And in round 2, they probably got to beat Florida now, too, because they lost to Florida. So that's another piece of adversity they got to face head on.
We want Florida. Mark writes in from Melfort, where they do the Melfort Shuffle. And he says, I'm back from Vegas, Rod, and the Golden Corral buffet was amazing. Only got to sample the tip of the iceberg. Definitely going back next time that I'm in the USA. All I can say is it's bonanza on steroids. Yes, it's the Golden Corral. And I'm not usually an advocate for giving up free advertising on this program, but the Golden Corral is so damn good. America's finest buffet. I'll give them the free pub. And by the way, Mark, you should have asked. You could have DM'd me and I would have told you. If you're going to go to the Golden Corral, you need to have a plan. You need to sort. It's not. No. You need to sort. You have to have a game plan. You need to attack it properly. You need to have a window. I remember flying in here, going to the Golden Corral in West Palm Beach. I was with my guy, Luke, and he put a towel over his shoulder. We landed, threw our suitcases in a rental car, and went straight to Golden Corral. We'd been planning for 5 hours about how we were going to attack that buffet. Okay? So next time, I hope you're a little more prepared, Mark. You should have asked. So, anyways, Darren, we're moving on to more fun stuff, although this has been real fun so far. An NFL note. NFL teams are set to dole out billions in free agent contracts in the coming weeks as teams around the league hope that bold moves in March will pay off. With wins on the field once the season starts, but in a league with a sharp aging curve and specific systems that don't suit all players, those dollars spent don't guarantee success. According to the Spot Track website, NFL teams handed out more than $3.3 billion in contracts last offseason alone, with nearly half of that money fully guaranteed. The 6 biggest spenders last year at this time, like in free agency, all missed the playoff. So that's something just to mull over. Right. And I don't know which ones they are, because I'm just reading. I'm like Ron Burgundy. I'm just reading what they put in front of me. But dovetailing off that, somehow or another, I don't know if you watched any ESPN this morning, but they're, again, guess what they were talking about? Darren, take a wild stab what they were talking about this morning on ESPN.
The National Football League and probably Justin Fields.
Specifically, the Dallas Cowboys. No, they took a break from the Bears, and they talked about CeeDee Lamb. Apparently somewhere, the star receiver for the Dallas Cowboys said the culture is an issue there. They didn't read the exact quote, and they didn't play any clip of audio. I'm a Cowboys fan. I know the culture is bad. But Spot Track, the website, said that CeeDee Lamb, based on other receivers at his position, they do a really good job. What do we need GMs for? We got a website that said his next contract should be in line for 4 years, $120 million. I'm no mathematician, but I think that's $30 million per year. And based on what his numbers, he's earned that. But I want to say this about culture. I think Jerry Jones is probably a narcissist. I don't know. I mean, I don't know him well enough. Met him. I've told many people on a tour of the stadium. That's not getting to know him. But everybody thinks he's great. He's at training camp, handing out hats and T-shirts. Everybody, hey, Jerry's he's Santa Claus. That's what he wants, right? It's all about me. I'm the good guy. Whatever. And then they have 12 wins and they make the playoffs every year, right? So you think he knows what he's doing. But I just want to talk about team culture for a second. That's why you put in the preview photo here, Culture Club. How's the culture of your club? Because I don't think it's good with the Dallas Cowboys. Yours is the Tennessee Titans. And anybody watching right now, how do you feel the culture is with your team? I'd love to know what people think. What do you? Now we're going to talk about the Titans, not the Leafs. The Tennessee Titans. What do you think their culture is?
I think it's a question mark because, they're going through a lot of change. They're changing, kind of throughout last year from, Ryan Tannehill being the starting quarterback to Will Levis being the starting quarterback. We know quarterbacks are a big part of culture. And every team sets culture differently. Sometimes it comes from the owner, like in Dallas. Other times it comes from the GM or the coach or the star quarterback or a receiver. So it's different. They got a new coach in there. It came from the Cincinnati Bengals. He's probably going to set the culture. Rand Carthen, who came from San Francisco to be the GM last year, he sets culture. So it'll be interesting with a new quarterback in Levis, new coach, second-year GM, Amy Adams Strunk trying to set things as the owner. Who is going to set the culture? That's what we're watching in Nashville, especially when a lot of things are going well. DeAndre Hopkins is there and happy. New building they've broken ground on. So it's fun to follow.
That's why I have, in a way, I feel like I've been ruined. I've just been around it too long. I've seen behind the curtain of all these teams and leagues, and I just know that it all comes down to culture. I kind of wish I was the wet behind the ears, prairie rube that wanted to believe what I saw the owner say in the newspaper. You know what I mean? Or they're building a new stadium.
Yeah.
Things must be great. You know what? Like, I want to believe that, but I know that it all comes down to and only matters what the culture is. End of story. And Ryan, by the way, in Saratoga, New York, writes, and he says the 6 NFL teams that spent the most last year: Denver, New Orleans, Atlanta, Chicago, Las Vegas, and Carolina. Every single one of them missed the playoffs. So that story that I read was right. The teams that spent the most in free agency all missed the playoffs. And what does that tell you? They all probably have bad culture. But I'm going to say another thing. When I showed up here 3 years ago, started covering the Panthers, I said it. Next time I saw you, I'm like, you wouldn't believe the culture here. They treat everybody great. I don't know why we always start down at the janitor. Why is that a bad? From the janitor to the stick boy to the goalie, Sergei Bobrovsky, the people in the concessions, everybody's smiling. And that's a bit of a Florida thing. People here aren't generally mad, but you know what I mean? It's a good culture. Everybody's treated with respect. Matthew Tkachuk couldn't get over it when he got here. So I don't have time to get into the comments here. We will a little later on. But is Scott Laughlin logged in? He is? Okay. He is logged in there. So we'll push this to next hour because I want you, just from what you can see and know, talk about your other favorite teams, the Leafs and whoever else, how their culture is. We're going to talk about this big trade and more when we come back with Scott Laughlin. Vladimir Tarasenko is a Florida Panther. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics, Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
At the Key Auto Group pre-owned division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Well, breaking news on this Wednesday, the Florida Panthers have acquired some scoring punch. They've netted forward Vladimir Tarasenko from the Ottawa Senators 2 days in advance of the NHL trade deadline. Going back to Ottawa from Florida, 2 draft picks, a 4th-round pick this year, a third if the Panthers win the Cup, conditional, and a 3rd-round pick in 2025, plus Ottawa's retaining 50% of Tarasenko's remaining salary. Joining us to talk about it, Scott Laughlin. And as usual, Scott, I was listening. You and Gordy said today, 2 days before the trade is the day. Historically, it has been. And here we go. What's your read on the Tarasenko to Florida deal?
Well, I like it a lot for the Panthers. There's no question. Expiring contract, no doubt. Senators get a couple of picks back. They'll split the remaining salary the rest of the way, right down the middle. Look, I think, Rod, I mean, you see it night in and night out. I mean, this Florida Panthers team is the best team in the National Hockey League right now. There's no question about it. If anything, they kind of lament the fact that the playoffs didn't start tonight because they're ready to roll. They're loaded on the back end, as we know. They're loaded now up front with the extra half goal per game that it takes at playoff time to win games, and they experienced all that last spring, as we know. So this is a deep, experienced team that believes that they're confident enough to win. We've looked lately to see the Lamborghini and Nick Cousins and different depth guys like that make a difference for the Florida Panthers. So right now, if they are going to do this, and they have done it with Ottawa, and if this is all they're going to do, I think Bill Zito feels pretty confident with what he's put together down there in South Florida.
I think it's a win-win for both sides. Ottawa, I'm sure, is happy to get the pick back. But this is a guy that, obviously, I respect your opinion. I listen to you every day. Why was Tarasenko always had 1 foot out the door in St. Louis? And why do the Rangers and Senators not want to hang on to this guy? Like, does he have baggage? I don't understand why he's not looked upon as that franchise cornerstone guy. The talent's there, so there's got to be something else.
Well, it's interesting, too, because I would draw the comparison with a guy like Jacob Chychrun, too, right? Like, we've seen Chychrun, and we've seen him bounce around, and we knew that he was as good as gone from Arizona, and that it took a while. He gets to Ottawa for a year, and now we're hearing a lot about the fact that Jacob Chychrun could be made available to the top guy as well. So sometimes I just think it's a victim of circumstance. I think back when you think to him being a St. Louis Blue, who could forget, Rod, he and Ken Hitchcock getting into that exchange on the bench in Chicago during that game, of course, where he was disgruntled about something that Hitch had said to him at that present point in time. I just think it's a circumstantial type thing where more or less he's been a hired gun of late. I think he's going to be a hired gun by the Florida Panthers, and they think that if they can get the extra half goal per game, like I said, that might serve them well in the end and maybe take them to that Stanley Cup. And as you say, Ottawa perhaps gets a 4th instead of a 3rd. Make that, a 3rd instead of a 4th.
Right. Evander Kane showed up in Edmonton with a reputation and baggage, and he's been nothing but a model citizen, which says a lot about the Oilers dressing room. So, and I'm not comparing Tarasenko to Kane. You get it. I'm just wondering how it'll all work here. But hopefully, for the sake of the Panthers, it works out similar to that. So you and Gordy we're excited about the trades coming up. So do you expect that it's going to get wild here?
I think so. I mean, all the insiders, Elliot Friedman was the latest to tell us today, and we heard yesterday even that by the end of today, Pittsburgh is looking to get something done with regards to Gensel. And whether it's Gensel to Vancouver, like we've connected the dots, or whether it's a team like the Rangers jumping in on Gensel, that would be seismic. We're starting to hear the Rangers kicking tires on Gensel as well. I think that that's something you can probably look forward to by the end of today. And what did we have last year at this time? A couple days away from the trade deadline, Rod, we had, 10 deals go down too. So I would think that this Tarasenko trade today is probably the first of many. By day's end, we're going to be talking about some big-time trades, especially Jake Gensel going out the door, leaving the Pittsburgh Penguins. And wouldn't that be something for a guy who's meant so much to not only the Penguins, but to Sidney Crosby specifically?
Yeah, for sure. But, we had Josh Getzoff on this show last week, the voice of the Penguins. And he said, before they started this Western road trip, and he goes, this next week's going to tell us what the Penguins are made of. And then they lose 3 in a row. So it did tell them, so I guess it's funny how that works, right? How the teams look at it. And it's like, yeah, we're not a contender. So is it over? Is it over, Scott, the good times in Pittsburgh?
Well, look, if I was Kyle Dubas, I would look at Malkin. I would look at Letang. But, then you factor in the Crosby situation, right? And look, Sid, I think, was more than willing and is still more than willing to play out the string with the Pittsburgh Penguins. But a little precondition towards that, we've all thought, has always been he wants to go out arm in arm with Malkin. He wants to go out arm in arm with Chris Letang. So if you say, okay, keep the band together again, all you can do is retool. And whether that's Gensel, whether that's moving out a Jari in goal or a Nedeljkovic in goal, perhaps that's something they could look at. Riley Smith, coming off the 3-point performance just last night, is another chip perhaps Kyle Dubas could use to maybe just change things around a little bit. But essentially, when you've got Crosby and you've got Malkin and you've got Letang, if you're assuming they're all going out together and they're all going to be making Hall of Fame speeches together someday, I think your hands are kind of tied, and there's only a certain amount of maybe dissection of this roster that Kyle Dubas can really sink his teeth into.
Isn't that interesting when you say that? I think Crosby will have the opportunity to write his ticket at the end. It reminds me of Bedard and Regina. Sorry to say, because he's at the other end of the scale, but Connor didn't want to be traded, so they didn't trade him. They left it up to the player. That's pretty rare, Scott, but that tells you special players can do that, and that's probably what's going to happen in Pittsburgh. Right? Now, Wayne wanted out in various places, but that's what Wayne wanted. Certain players can do that.
Yeah, and look, we have known that list to be few and far between in terms of guys who could play their entire careers with one franchise. You think to Joe Sakic, Quebec to Colorado. That was something he had no control over, clearly. Stevie Yzerman with the Detroit Red Wings. These sorts of things don't really happen all that often. And I think for Crosby, I think it's kind of pre-written that this is the way it's going to go. He's meant so much to the Penguins. He's meant so much to the National Hockey League. They've got the 3 Stanley Cups. They've made run after run after run. So if anybody can run his own ticket, you're absolutely correct, Rod. It's going to be a guy like 87 in Pittsburgh.
Hey, last one, Scott. Totally off the board. And by the way, Jamie Cooey's lined up and ready to go live from the Brier. But I want to ask you about other things. When you come on, I felt like playing some hairband, because that's what I always hear when I'm listening to you. But we were talking about culture earlier. We are both Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
So I guess C.D. Lamb alluded to Cowboys culture this week. I think we know it's bad, right? What is your take on Cowboys culture in 90 seconds or less?
Well, it's funny, Rod, because I had a conversation with Tim Brown, and I'm sure you've talked to Tim over the years too, Hall of Fame receiver, one of the all-time greats from the Dallas area, as we know. And going back to the NHL awards back in 2014, I think it was, I talked with Tim, and he didn't necessarily bring this up on the air, and maybe I'm speaking at a school a little bit, but I asked him off the air, what's wrong with the Cowboys, the whole bit? And being from that area, and this was an interesting take on the situation, Tim Brown said that there's just a sense of entitlement with having that star on the side of your helmet. I mean, this stretches back a decade now where Tim Brown is telling me that the Cowboys maybe have an entitlement problem. They've got a culture problem down there in Dallas. Everybody feels like they're a little bit bigger than maybe that they are. And I think that factors into it. How else could you explain, Rod, what's happened to the Cowboys the last couple of years in particular? One of the most talented teams in the league. At times it's been coaching. At times it's been turnovers from Dak Prescott. The reality is they just haven't gotten it done. And whether it's a culture problem or an execution problem, I mean, things can only get better, Rod, right?
Bro, it goes hand in hand with being the biggest dog in town. Leafs, Flames, Rough Riders, Dolphins. We don't need to win, and the barn's full. So we're good. Great answer.
You're absolutely right. It's been said of the
it.
Leafs, too. Here in Toronto, Rod, it's been said of the Leafs, to your point. Everybody gets elevated, knocked up a couple of notches up that ladder when you play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and maybe that sets the expectation levels out of whack just a little bit.
Wonderful chat. Scott, thanks for this. Keep it up, man. Always listening. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Rod.
We're going back to the Brier right after this. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers, Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hey, the RP Show continues. Episode number 1195 of your favorite daytime sports talk show on Game Plus TV, live across Canada and 31 U.S. states. Normally, we would do a sports update right here, but why not bring in the newsmakers themselves? Jamie Cooey, fresh off the ice at the Montana's Brier and Regina, falling 10-2 to Saskatchewan this morning. Jamie, welcome to the RP Show, brother. First time ever. How you doing?
Yeah, good, Rod. Well, I was doing better before this morning, but yeah, I'll get over it pretty quick and be doing a lot better this afternoon.
You're going to have to, yes, but you know your way around this. 14th Brier, and for those that don't know, there were two marquee matches in my mind this morning. That was one. Jamie's ranked 4-1, the talk of the Brier in a lot of ways, against Mike McEwen, who was going into the game 4-1 as well. And then the other one was Canada PEI. But yours, talk about that. You guys shook hands. Did it get away from you? A 10-2 loss through 8 against Sask. What happened, Jamie?
Yeah, got away from us. It was pretty close till the fourth end, and then they got a big 3 on us. We had a bad break on 2 of my shots where we just kind of, missed by a fraction, and that's the name of the game when you're in the Brier. It's a tough competition, right? So, I missed by a fraction, and then Saskatchewan made a really good shot for 3. And it kind of slipped from there. Dropped 2 the next end that we missed by probably about a centimeter, and it just kind of fell after that. The momentum was on their side with the fans and the way they were playing, and that's how the sport goes. Any sport goes. When you get on the wrong side of the inch, it could go bad, or when you get on the right side, it could go really good.
It can go bad fast. Like my good friend watching right now, Brent from Florida, when we were out on his fishing boat, he goes, if you don't know what you're doing out here, it can go bad fast. But you do know what you're doing. 14th Brier, as I mentioned, representing the Northwest Territories, and a great start at 4-1. I mean, were you shaking that thing off before you even walked off the ice? You got to have a short memory in tournaments like this, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, you got to shake it off. So we'll go have some lunch and we'll relax. We don't play till tonight at 7. So we got some time to figure it out. And it's like any sport. Next game is the new game, right? So whether you win or lose, you got to shake that off and regroup. Next game, it's a brand new one. We're still in it, 4-2. We got 2 big games left, so we've got to go forward.
Please tell me what it was like being the enemy in there. As, Saskatchewan curling fans are sportsmanlike people, but they were still cheering for Mike McEwen. What was it like being the enemy going in there this morning?
Yeah, it's tough. The crowd is on their side fairly. They're fairly loud. Even we had the future stars walk in with us this morning, so introduce them, and we even asked them who you cheering for, and they were raised right, so they were raised not to lie. So they told us right to our face they were cheering for Saskatchewan. The little future stars, and then the crowd is amazing. But we are in Saskatchewan, so they're going to cheer for them. And they had the schools out this morning, so it was really loud in there. But it's a great atmosphere to be in. If you can't enjoy yourself in this atmosphere, then what are we doing here?
Out of the mouth of babes, as they say. Well, Jamie, just like that went fast. We're out of time. Good luck tonight. Have a good lunch. Get your rest, and we'll be following the rest of the way. It's been a great Brier so far.
Awesome. Appreciate you having me.
Jamie Cooey of Team Northwest Territories. Where are we at for time, Clark? I haven't heard anything from anybody. Hello? Yeah. So anyways, coming up next hour, we'll be talking a little Junior A hockey and some Leafs with our guy Neugsy. And Moose will return live from the Brier right after this brief pause on Game Plus TV and Key Radio.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Catlin Schneider, fresh off the ice. I'm getting roaring reports, Catlin.
Yeah, that's a big one. Knocked off the last remaining undefeated team. So you don't see that very often at a Brier on a Tuesday. It's a dogfight out there. There's a lot of crazy things going on, a lot of upsets. Yeah, it's going to be fun, and we just got to keep our head down and keep doing what we're doing.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Rick Regan. And that is daytime sports talk at its finest. And it's a Hump Day Wednesday, episode 1195 of your favorite daytime sports talk show, coming at you live on Game Plus TV and Key Radio. I'm here in the Florida studio. Moose is at the Montana's Brier, and life is good. I got to say, man, we do have breaking news on this Wednesday, the very first of what could be a big day leading up to Friday's NHL trade deadline. We had a huge trade. The Florida Panthers have acquired forward Vladimir Tarasenko from the Ottawa Senators for a pair of draft picks. It's massive. We'll get into more of that later. But, Darren, you have done great work there at the Montana's Brier, facilitating curlers coming through, sitting at your set. And that's one thing that I love through this partnership at Curling Canada and just curling people in general. There aren't a lot of sports where a competitor would walk right off the playing surface and onto the air and talk the way Jamie Cooey did. Man, it's, other than you see it all the time, sideline interviews, right, between the benches in the NHL, but it's not like what we just had. That's pretty special stuff.
No, you don't walk off the football field and onto the set of the Pat McAfee show. Like, that doesn't happen into the studio. But it's happening here. And this curling, and you know what? It's tough to get him after a loss for sure, but he's very good and gracious and happy to get the airtime. And he said he's been watching. I don't know if he told you it on the air, but he told me off the air. He's like, ever since I got into town and walked by and saw your set, we've all been watching the show and loving what you guys are doing. So that was passed along from him and the curlers. They're watching, which is great. And great afternoon. I mean, Saskatchewan beat them in the morning, but none of it just got off the ice. Nunavut with their first win of the Brier, just their second win ever for Nunavut at the Brier. So pretty cool stuff this morning.
I thought you were going to say first ever, but it was second. Okay. Well, so we're going to get back into what we normally do here in a second, but I want to say something for all, because we have our regular viewers. Sask is still number one for viewership of the RP show, but we have all these other new viewers across Canada and 31 U.S. states that are kind of figuring stuff out. And for those that were watching the Jamie Cooey interview last hour, this Northwest Territory skip who's playing at his 14th Brier, Canadian Men's Curling Championship. I'm not sure how much you heard of what he said, but people need to understand something. When Saskatchewan hosts these national events, what they regularly do, and I've been involved or covered or been around literally all of them, a lot of times they'll bring in local kids, right? Surrounding communities, and they'll be the host little community for the teams across the country. So he just said the young stars, they walked in with the young kids with team territories. Well, they're all from the Regina area. So Jamie said, and, you know, my Florida people, they need to have an open mind when I say this in a second, or some American people, but Jamie goes, they were raised right. We asked them who they were cheering for, and they smiled at us and said, Saskatchewan. Well, of course, they're being honest. They're probably all wearing Territories gear that they got for free, but we're cheering for the home team where we're from. Now, one of the first times I came to Florida in 2015, I was hosting a sports trip, and I walked up. I had 60 people from Saskatchewan on my sports trip, and we were staying at a hotel in Deerfield Beach, not far from here. And I went up to the front desk person at the hotel, and I said, what do you think of our people? She goes, well, you Canadians, I really like you. And I said, well, what do you like about us? She said, you're real. And I was like, I'd never lived anywhere else other than 1 year in college, so I didn't, of course we are. What do you mean we're real? And now for the time that I've been down here, I said to Serena, I can't put any stock in anything anybody says. If somebody says, I'll see you at this time, I'll call you at this time, I'll make plans for this day, I'll see you, I never hear from them again. And that's what she was saying. They're real. When they say it, they mean it. And you can set your watch by it. You know what I mean? So those kids raised right, as Jamie Cooey said. So anyways, I'm sorry to bring this up, but Darren was 1-8 in his breakaway bets yesterday. I'm hoping you have a better chance. You know, I will give you a pass because I feel you've been a little busy and you haven't really been like deep into the hockey coverage and analysis and stuff like I have. Am I doing it right?
Yeah, that's fair. I'll take the free pass. I'm just happy it wasn't 0-9, but it was pretty close there for a while.
So out of the 9 games last night of our picks we do every day, Darren was 1-8, and I was 6-3. Now I do have Panthers fans watching, and I'll tell you again, later on today, we are taping the Panthers and Lightning Cats and Bolts podcast. This isn't the show for that. You're welcome to come in and stay and have fun, but it's not Panthers TV here, okay? And I was chastised by some of them for picking the Devils to win last night, but they should have. Everything was lining up that not only that the New Jersey Devils should win last night, but that the Florida Panthers should lose. They were starting their backup goalie in Anthony Stolars. It was the first game for Travis Green, the new head coach, after Lindy Ruff was fired. Darren, that team always wins the first game under the new coach. If they don't, what does that say? Huh?
I know. The problems run deeper than the coach. And, you know, they got some decisions to make. New Jersey's one of those teams that has real decisions to make. You asked before and talked about, are they overachieving, underachieving? Did they overachieve last year? or are they underachieving this year? And I think the consensus is probably that they're underachieving this year. So they've got decisions to make that, what do you do at the deadline? If you think you can get in and be a good team and go on if you think you're better than your record, then they'll try and add. But if now they're a little concerned because the new coach didn't result in a win right away, they might have to rethink their game plan going into Friday.
Yeah, and now they're going to have to get a goalie. Well, we fired the coach. It wasn't the coach. So we'll have to get a goalie. I think they've known all year that their goaltending's not strong enough. And we'll see if Jacob Markstrom goes to New Jersey or somewhere else out of Calgary by the end of the week. But by the way, now would be a good time to bring up our poll question today, which we do every day. And it's brought to you by Key Auto Group. At the Key Auto Group, you can buy with confidence, knowing that they provide reports on all vehicles they sell. Get fully informed about your next vehicle by going to keyautogroup.ca. And the poll question today is this: which of these bubble teams will end up getting into the Stanley Cup playoffs? And pardon me, because I haven't looked in a second here. Our options are the New York Islanders, the Washington Capitals, Calgary Flames, or Seattle Kraken. And it remains the Islanders with 40% of the vote for Key Auto Group. You think the Islanders are going to get in? They got 40% of the vote. 27% say the Flames. 23% say the Kraken. Only 10% say the Washington Capitals. Penguins are milling around, and the Blues are too. But let me ask you this. Do you expect anybody to slip out that's currently in, or any one of these teams to get in? Because I don't really. Do you?
It's really tough. But you look at some of the teams. Pittsburgh definitely underperforming, and we don't know what really the issues are now with the Penguins, and they've got to make some moves. I look at who's the best team that's left that we didn't expect to be in this spot. It's probably the Islanders. I think that's why I vote for them. I thought they would have been in the playoff picture throughout the season. Same with Seattle, though, too, after a really good year last year. But we'll see. I think we'll see some movement. I think we'll see one team come in. I don't want to say who's going to come out, but I think you'll see some movement before the end of the year.
I'm listening.
Yeah. What I think.
Jeff in Estevan, Saskatchewan, writes in. And he says, hey, Rod, you can't forget about all the card guys that are looking for the Bedard young cards. From the Upper Deck Series 2 came out. I saw new news coverage on that. But by the way, we had our session this morning with my coach, my advisor, who told me to try and block out the noises. I'm reading everything. I saw the Bedard's cards are out, and, Connor, why use 10 words if 2 will do? Hey, Connor Bedard, what do you think about your rookie cards? Yeah, it's pretty cool. That was his answer. It was pretty cool to finally be on one. It's a little crazy out there. I don't know if you saw the coverage of Travis Kelce showed up at a Taylor Swift concert. He had some sort of motivational wristband on, and they zoomed in on it with a high-exposure camera, super, what do you call it, HD? Oh, it said this on his wristband. Oh, yeah, I think this is the kind of stuff that my advisor is saying block out, because it doesn't matter. There's just so much gobbledygook out there. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, Jeff, cool for you.
Know.
I don't collect cards anymore. Unless they're Tim Hortons. I cherish my Lanny McDonald card. But that's me, by the way. These are not investments for me. I know they are for a lot of people. But do you know what I mean? As far as mementos and collectibles go, these bobbleheads mean a lot to me. I'm not selling them. How are you with hockey cards today at your advanced age, Moose?
I kind of actually have an itch to want to get back into it, but I don't know that I want to get back into it because it's so overwhelming. I like collecting things like, you're right, like you talk about bobbleheads. For me, it's the personal gifts. It's Catelyn Schneider signing a jersey, and those types of things. I cherish those. They have meaning. Every piece has a story behind it. I don't really go to the collectible store and just buy something and say, hey, I bought this. No story behind it. But people are asking for those Bedard cards. They're saying, if there's a one in great condition, these new cards, they're offering $1 million for it. And now people are saying, would you sell it for $1 million today or wait and hope it becomes a $5 million card in a couple of decades. I don't know.
I saw the guy in Regina sold his OPG cards for $3.5 million, something like that. Not bad for a little find that they stumbled upon, a bunch of unopened boxes. By the way, BW from Edmonton, you're going to have to tell me where this came from, but he says, Evander Kane, rumors he wants out of Edmonton, not happy with ice time. Could he be traded before Friday? I was thinking about this morning. The talk of the culture, I really thought it was interesting with Scott Laughlin last hour from NHL Radio, where he said the Cowboys' problem is entitlement. That's what he was told. It might be the same thing with the Leafs. This business, the rumor is Evander Kane wants a trade. That stuff's troublesome. I do want to point this out. I was going to talk about it a little later on today in my Panthers Lightning podcast with Serena. Darren, that stuff's dangerous. It really is. I mean, it's fun to talk about Travis Kelce and the wristband he was wearing, and Taylor Swift loves him. That's not dangerous. This is what's the problem with Canadian markets. And I also want to explain something here to people that I would not have known. I've learned this the last 3 years. There is no coverage of the Florida Panthers. You can forget about rumors. There ain't even a story about last night's 5-3 win at New Jersey, okay? I went to the Palm Beach Post, which is the local newspaper for me. Not only the hard copy obviously had nothing in it. The website had nothing on it. High school sports gets more coverage than the Florida Panthers here. And if they had coverage, I'd have had to pay for it anyways. But do you understand the difference here where you can come down here and Matthew Tkachuk can walk the streets and for the most part have nobody know who he is and not have a rumor started by noon that he wants out or he's unhappy with his line mates? This is a problem. And so John Ohm, writing in from Winnipeg, says, let me know when Evander Kane is ever happy. Sorry, not sorry. Leafs go through the same thing. And Flames and Canadians. Do you see how that... I used to wonder, the hockey people said that the media is a problem for the Leafs. And I never understood why, but it took me getting out of Canada to look back and go, oh, I get it. It is. What do you think?
I know, and it is. And we talk about situation matters for so many people. And you got to remember, these professional athletes are people. They're people. So I always thought, Bobrovsky was my favorite example. When he was in Columbus, he was lights out. He was really good. And did he play under Tortorella? I think it was kind of the same time. But anyways, what else is there to do in Columbus besides play hockey? So you're focused, you're dialed in. Then he gets traded to Florida or goes to Florida, and it's like, oh, there's a beach here. And everybody said that his game was gone. Well, maybe he just enjoyed the beach a little bit. Maybe he enjoyed being in the sun and was a little less focused on hockey. But once he got comfortable and now learns the best of both worlds, he's in a great spot. Loves going to the rink. He's playing really well. Everything's going well. He's found his spot. So, the situation matters. And sometimes, players just aren't in the right spot.
You need to be happy, period. And that's where we go back to what I wanted to have as a theme through the program today was culture. We started talking about it with the Dallas Cowboys, which, by the way, when we come back, here's a little topic that we'll get to the trade stuff if you want, folks. But nobody saw Vladimir Tarasenko to the Florida Panthers coming. Nobody, okay? Till Elliot Friedman reported it. So I just want to say, I'm not interested in wasting my energy on who could go where, because let's wait to see what happens. But I am interested in this. Bill Belichick is being sought after by 2 television companies for his next job. We'll talk about that and more. When's Nugsy? He's 2 segments from now, right? The Junior A fans are just going off. Settle down. Nugsy in 2 segments from now. We'll be right back live from the Brier on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss. But it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss. But it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Hi, everybody. I'm just tweeting. Don't mind me. Tagging Curling Canada. Got the Starbucks cold brew going. Hey, before we bring the Moose back in, a sports update on this Wednesday. It appears the NHL leading Florida Panthers gave their offense some scoring punch today by acquiring veteran forward Vladimir Tarasenko from the Ottawa Senators. Sens received 2 draft picks in return, and they are retaining 50% of Tarasenko's remaining salary this year. Toronto's Professional Women's Hockey League team looks to make it 8 wins in a row tonight against Boston at home. After a slow start to the season, Toronto's climbed to 3rd in the 6-team league. Boston's 4th. And, That's all we got. Sports Update brought to you by the Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And also brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Coming to Landmark Cinemas March 22nd, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Doesn't that theme start going off your head? In the latest Ghostbusters, the Spengler family returns to where it all started, the iconic New York City firehouse, to team up with the original Ghostbusters, who've developed a top-secret research lab to take busting ghosts to a new level. Starring Annie Potts, Paul Rudd, and Dan Aykroyd. In Landmark Cinemas March 22nd, the very latest Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. Can we please bring the Moose back in? Moose, is this where you feel like a animal in the zoo? People are streaming out of the morning draw at the Brand Center. They're all peering at you, and you're telling them, don't feed the animals?
That's right. They're waving. And so if you see me doing one of these or one of these or one of these, then you know what's up. I'm just, I got to cater to the people, Rod. I got to cater to our people.
I know. These aren't great things for people like you and I that might have some attention deficit,
you can tell
deficiencies
by the eyes
to be at.
Going everywhere. Yeah,
I could tell right away. Anyways, you're doing a great job. You're doing a fantastic show. That's the breaking news of the day, that trade. What do we got here? From Clark. Pierre LeBrun hearing that trade talks are heating up between Edmonton and Anaheim on Adam Henrique. Okay. Well, we'll see where that one goes. I think for me, we've talked enough trade deadline hype. If something comes down, we'll analyze it. I want to ask you about this, and I don't know if you saw this today or not. I found it rather interesting. And where I read it, I can't remember. I think it was The Athletic. Peyton Manning, the Hall of Fame NFL quarterback, is a pretty popular production company now, right? Omaha Films. It was his production company that did the quarterback series on Netflix that's getting rave reviews. And he also apparently is like Omaha Films produces the Manning cast and then licenses it to ESPN. I don't know, most people don't care about this, but let's just say Peyton owns it with his brother, and they sit on a couch and watch Monday Night Football, and the whole world watches with them. I know I don't get it, but it's very popular. You can't argue with it. So he's now trying to land Bill Belichick. And if anybody knows more about this than what I'm about to report, you tell me. But this is what I read today at The Athletic. He would like to incorporate Bill Belichick in some sort of show or live streaming NFL analysis. Bill Belichick. But ESPN wants him too. And it would be a heck of a lot more traditional to say, oh, they probably want him for a Sunday morning or night NFL countdown, right? Put him on the set beside RG3 and whoever. That would be, but Peyton's doing his thing. And I guess my question to you and the masses is, do we really want to see Bill Belichick on a weekly basis breaking down the NFL? I'm pretty sure the football people would, but I'm not sure I do. Like Rex Ryan, you love Rex Ryan. He's a personality. Bill Belichick, I think, has the personality of this table. I don't want to see it. Or maybe he's got a really wonderful personality that we've never seen. And that's what Peyton thinks he'd like to put out to the mass. I could think of a lot more people that I would want on there than him.
Yeah, Bill's interesting for me. And I almost analyze Bill on NFL coverage as I do Don Cherry when he was on, Hockey Night in Canada. Don was perfect. And he was perfect in the 5 minutes he had. And it worked, and then he'd come in and he'd do the overtime intermission. And that was great. But we didn't, I think TV exec, I'm trying to be careful here. I think people try and squeeze every drop of juice out of the fruit. And I think that's a problem. I think if we would have put Don on every day and he would have done a show I think we would have got tired of it. But because he was on it, you had to wait for it. It was only on Saturday nights. It made it really special. I think the same could be done with Bill. I've seen Bill Belichick on some of those NFL 100 segments where he's sitting around the table talking about old players with like Chris Collinsworth. I've even seen him on set with Brady, with, Jim Nance, whoever, and they're talking about players. And Bill has a wonderful personality in those moments where he's away from the reporters. He's a great personality. The way he analyzes it, he has some fun, says some great things. So I'd love to see him on. I just don't want to see him overused. I don't want to see Bill on every day. I don't want to see Bill on for 4 hours. But in little bite-sized moments, I think Bill could be really effective.
Similar to Don Cherry, but I don't think they're going to do that anymore. I don't think they're going to do a Coach's Corner halftime segment with Bill Belichick. And I don't really know what Peyton Manning has got planned. I just kind of feel like Peyton Manning's got more money than he knows what to do with, and he doesn't really know broadcasting. That's not to say that what he's touched so far hasn't worked and been successful, but I don't think we want to see Bill Belichick. Randy from Winnipeg writes, then he says no on Belichick. 20 years, that's enough. Brent here in Florida says watching Belichick would be like sitting in class with the teacher on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Remember that? Bueller. Unless he's like a regular Jerry Seinfeld, but I just can't see it. And to be honest, what I do know about coaches, which, by the way, he'll take a TV opportunity as a very last resort, because that's what Rex Ryan did. When you think you're never going to coach again, that's when you go to broadcasting. Just so you know, everybody, because that's not what they got. You and I got into this business to do this. Coaches got into the business to coach. Belichick's not going to want to do it. So, and by the way, if he's angling for his next job, he's not going to say anything controversial. That's why Rex Ryan doesn't have any problem ripping the hell out of everybody. How many times have we sat there every week and went, ooh, can't believe he said that? Well, guess what? He didn't care because he's never going to apply for a job again, right? So that's everything. Because Belichick walked off that field in New England, and I'll guarantee you he didn't think it would be his last game, because the week that he was fired, it was a Monday morning. He sat there and said he wanted to be back, and he was willing to do whatever Robert Kraft wanted him to do. And on Thursday, they were shaking hands, and it was basically pack your stuff.
Yeah.
Belichick's, he's going to want to coach again, and he's in his 70s. So that's a whole other thing. BW in Edmonton says, Bill and Jimmy on the beach on Sunday Night Football. That's the other thing, though. I wonder if Bill Belichick's ever going to get over the way that it ended, because I just saw a photo from a boat show down here last weekend that Jimmy Johnson was there taking pictures with everybody selling autographs. Once you get over the way that it ended, life can be great, and you can get paid $10,000 to go to a boat show. I don't think Jimmy Johnson's fine with it. I don't think Bill Belichick's there yet. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I don't know if he's quite there yet. And again, you got to be on your own terms. Sean Payton did a little tour of Fox and was on the panel for a little bit, but he didn't say anything really of crazy substance because he wanted to coach again.
No.
You know, and I wonder, Jason Garrett is on the Sunday Night Football panel. I don't know if he wants to coach again, but he's not saying anything controversial either. And I don't, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, Bill's not going to come on and start ripping players because he wants to coach. So he would just be buying his time anyway.
Here we go. This got him going. And we got enough time in this segment to go through it. B. Henderson writes in and says, coaches are just glorified motivational speakers. No? In my mind, the best ones aren't that. The best ones are counselors, teachers, father figures, not friends. We're not here to be friends. The best ones are leaders. You just see the clips in a football life and the movies like Any Given Sunday. You don't see what goes on behind the scenes. Now, nobody's ever going to sit back with Belichick and say that he wasn't a great coach. As a matter of fact, they're probably going to say he was the greatest coach of all time. But I bristled when I watched the Aaron Hernandez documentary, and you saw it, right? I think you're the one that told me to watch it. He was getting in trouble in New England, his hometown, basically. He went into Belichick's office and said, I need to get out of here because I'm getting in trouble. I've fallen in with a bad crowd. Can you trade me? And Belichick basically said, get out of my office. ends up killing a couple of people and hanging himself in a jail cell. So that's why I get a little personally offended when it comes to this talk about what coaches should do. But Bill Belichick was all about, if you're not helping the team, you're useless to me. And Hernandez was still helping the team, right? Randy from Winnipeg says Peyton Manning's Omaha productions are well done. Reg Dunlop in Winnipeg says Belichick and Saban, get off my NFL lawn. That would be something, wouldn't it? Having those two sit in a lawn chair and watch film. There will probably be a show like that. Maybe that's what Peyton Manning is planning to do, because if you remember, John Gruden, remember him? Back in the day, he used to have a show on ESPN. You might have seen it, where he sat at a conference room board table with a quarterback and watched film together. It was fascinating. But John Gruden's got some personality. He was a spokesman for Hooters. Wayne in C says, you're right, Rod. Bill Belichick is not a personality, whereas Jimmy Johnson is a personality. That's it. Jimmy was always a personality. Go back and read the Cowboys book. Boys will be boys. I don't mind saying this because it's in print. Jimmy Johnson used to crush a 12-pack of Heineken on the way back from road games when the Cowboys were bad in the early 90s, and he'd cut a player on the flight, blackout drunk. Next morning, they'd be at practice, and he'd go, where's DuPont? You cut him last night, Coach Johnson. I did? Well, get him back. Could you see Belichick doing that? That happened. Ryan in New York says, I think Belichick still wants to coach if the location is right. The fact that his final game was a loss to the Jets isn't sitting well with him. That's the thing. He doesn't want to be on TV. He wants to be on the sidelines. John Ohm says, I think John Ohm says, I want to read Bill's book in his own words, if there is one ever written in the future. He just doesn't seem like a book TV kind of guy to me. That's all. That one went quick. That segment went quick. Moose, thanks for this, and enjoy the rest of the day at the Brier. Great work.
You betcha. Thank you so much, and enjoy the day.
Okay, we got Noogsy coming in next. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss. But it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Brier Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match. But for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult, because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Hi, my name's Logan Stanko.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Well, they predicted this morning on NHL radio that this would be the biggest day leading up to trade deadline weekend. It has been. Earlier on today, the Florida Panthers acquiring Vladimir Tarasenko from the Ottawa Senators for 2 draft picks, plus the Sens will retain half of his salary. And now, news out of Edmonton. The Oilers are acquiring forwards Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick from the Anaheim Ducks. TSN's Darren Dreger reports draft picks are expected to head back to Anaheim, with a third-party team also involved from salary retention. Let's bring in Jamie Neugebauer, the voice of the SJHL, Toronto kid, an author to boot. I might mention that. Nugsy, you're looking good, you're looking great and young, and your thoughts on these 2 deals today as we work our way towards Friday's trade deadline. You see them coming or not?
Sure, yeah. I mean, teams are going to be buyers at the deadline or around the deadline when they're going for it, obviously, right? Florida, Rod, you've seen it all year long. What a team. Add a little bit, just a little bit more of that pure offense. What a perfect addition, I think. And then you add a little bit of grit down the middle. Guys can win faceoffs for the Edmonton Oilers in key situations. Think about Adam Henrique. He will win a faceoff for you. What else will he do? I don't know, but in a big moment, he'll win a faceoff. I love that. Really good move so far. Really big fans of both of them.
Well, you're talking about 2 teams in the bottom 3 of the NHL unloading, the Senators and the Ducks, so they're probably happy with getting picks back. You know what's interesting me, though? These aren't bubble teams that are making these acquisitions. And to be honest, I thought that they might be. You know, that's our poll question today. Which of these bubble teams do we think will make the playoffs? Islanders or Capitals in the East, Flames or Kraken in the West? But those aren't the teams. It's the front runners, Nugsy. And I wonder, your Leafs, they did a lot in the summer. Are they going to do more now or not? What are you thinking and what are you hearing?
Cap space, Rod. It really, Brad Treliving was given a problem. We've talked about it a lot. You've talked about it a lot. Lots of media, in Toronto, do this, bring in this D-man, make this move, get another winger, etc. Bring in a goalie maybe. And they say, we'd love to, but what's the cap space? But back in the 90s, 2000s, what would the Leafs do, right? They'd get somebody huge, but where's the cap space? I don't know.
Northside in Edmonton writes in and says it's showing that Henrique was top 5 on all of the trade boards. So that's a big signing. Is this a win? Like, the trade deadline isn't until Friday, and I think if you were to sit back and say who won at trade deadline, we won't know until they hand out the Stanley Cup. But this is a move for the Oilers.
Yeah, hey, like for your Edmonton Oilers, your job right now is to add the piece that you're missing, the piece that you're looking for. Situational centerman. You know, you can afford to be very picky. Is Adam Henrique as good as he used to be? Is he what he used to be? No, absolutely not. But he's experienced. He'll win that faceoff for you. And in those deep playoff moments, Rod, you know how important it is to snap that puck back. And in the D zone especially, he'll do that for you. So, yeah, I like that for sure.
Great analysis, Nugsy. And it's interesting you say that because Henrique's been around. Tarasenko's been around. Gensel, if and when he moves, has been around. These teams are acquiring proven commodities, not young guns and hot shots. It's proven commodities, and I think that's very interesting. Paul in Humboldt writes in, and he says, I love the SJHL weekly discussions. Keep up the good work, Nugsy. Again, he is the host of SJHL Weekly on the broadcasts on SaskTel Max, which airs this fine program daily on Channel 427 across Saskatchewan. What's your report, Nugsy, as we get towards the finish line of the regular season in the SJ?
Just a small question, Rod. How about that? Yeah, look, the Flin Flon Bombers, with the roster that they have, I spoke to Mike Reagan, their head coach and GM, a guy you know, obviously, too. And he was saying he was a little concerned. Maybe he did too much at the trade deadline. You know, I think there's pressure when you are a winner to do a lot and to make moves and to see what other teams are doing and to match it. And he thinks maybe he's done too much, and I think that's kind of bared out in the results a little bit lately. The Flin Flon Bombers, the last little bit, Rod, 2-3-1 over the last 6. They were the number 1 ranked team in Canada for a long time. Look, they still have the best roster in the league. If they don't win at this point the championship, I think people will be very surprised and disappointed. But that all being said, the Melfort Mustangs are coming. The Humboldt Broncos are coming. The Battle for North Star is in a slide, but they have the experience of going to the Centennial Cup, of going deep in the SJHL playoffs and winning. So I think really the situation right now, Rod, if I were to sum it all up, is it's much tighter. There's much more parity than we thought. Earlier in the year, if you were to ask me this question, I'd say the Flin Flon Bombers give them the championship right now, because they are stacked. They are stacked out of their minds. But not right now. You know, a little uncertainty, a little adversity. So we'll see. The playoffs are coming up. You know, March 21st, March 22nd, they're going to kick off. And then it'll be all to play for, because there's not going to be any easy outs in the playoffs when they begin.
So what you're telling me is it's the usual suspects, by the way. You didn't mention Esteban, though, and I know that they feel that they're in it. They're going to be in it to the end.
You know what? And Rory and I and Clark on the show, who's doing a great job, your own fine producer there, Clark Monroe, stepped in to be sort of the main host on the SJHL Weekly show. He's doing a wonderful job. He and I are working together, directing the media department with the league. And we all talk about nobody wants to play the big bad Bruins, Estevan. You talk about experience, you talk about a heavy team. Jason Tatarnik, he's been there, he's done that. He's done that in this league. He's done that in the BCHL. He's done that in the Maritime Leagues. You've talked to him many times, including recently. He knows how to win when the push comes to the shove. Right now, they're sitting in 8th. I don't expect that to be the case. And the Flin Flon Bombers, honestly, Rod, I think they better hope that the Estevan Bruins are not in 8th when it's all said and done, because that would be the 1v8 series to start. And there was just a series up at the Whitney Forum between Flin Flon and Estevan last weekend, Rod. It was fun to watch if you're a neutral. It was mean. It was old school. There was controversy. There were people just going nuts. There were suspensions. It was all that you want at the Whitney Forum between Flin Flon and Estevan, which is the greatest rivalry right now, Rod, in the SJHL. Bruins have a lot of good pieces if they can hold their emotions together and play that playoff style hockey that Jason Tarnik's been preaching. You know, they're no fun. Again, usual suspects. You know who's unusual is the Melville Millionaires. They're no fun for anybody to face either. They got Doug Johnson, who is a guy you'll also know too. You know, there's going to be no easy sweeps, no easy series in this first round of the playoffs coming up, Rod.
From the audience, John in Kansas City says, as always, I love the SJHL updates. It's what makes the RP show unique. Robin in Prince Albert resident says, Clayton Jardine should win Coach of the Year in the SJ. What he has done with the Clippers has been great to see. But I want to look at the other end of things. Your take on the Yorkton Terriers announcement that they will survive to play next season, 2024-25, after a successful season ticket blitz. What's your view of that situation?
Rod, it's just another example, and you've been part of it, of the warmth, the loving arms that the hockey world wraps around wounded teams, wounded people. The hockey world is such a beautiful, powerful thing. Yes, the Yorkton Terriers weren't too proud to say, hey, we need some help here. You know, they had under 200 season tickets sold this year. They were struggling. People said that they were going to be done. And they said, you know, we need some help. And you know, I know with your recovery program and just in your life away from the media and the camera and the lights, you walk the walk when you're not on camera too. And you say, don't be too proud to ask for help. And the hockey world has responded again. The Yorkton Terriers, 1,000 season tickets sold for next year. I'm really happy. Obviously, that's a great storied organization. They got a great barn there at the Westland Arena, which I know you've been to plenty of times. Wonderful people there in Yorkton. So again, my biggest take, Rod, is it's another example of the hockey world wrapping its arms around somebody that needs it, and just a beautiful thing.
A wonderful, wonderful community, that East Central, the Garlic Belt over there, the Yorkton area. Great people. They don't want to see their team go down. But it was also, my thing was, it's a message to the Yorkton Terriers. This team doesn't run on its own. So for a variety of reasons that we don't have time to get in here, let's not get in this situation again. Nugsy, that's it. Keep up the great work. As you know, I'm enjoying following your coverage. And thanks for this. Enjoy the hockey.
You know I'm cheering for you, Rod. Love you, bud. And I'm really, really proud of you. Keep it up.
Same to you, pal. Love you too, man. Keep it up. Jamie Neugebauer will have a front row seat to the playoffs, as his Hounds aren't in them. Sorry, Nugsy. I had to say it. We'll be right back with Overtime after this on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
At the Key Auto Group Pre-Owned Division, we're bringing back that new car feeling. No matter what, it's new to you and priced just right. No hidden fees, prices you can trust, an upfront buying experience. And it's all at keyautogroup.ca.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Oh boy, this has been interesting, and I appreciate the input from the audience as always on this Hump Day Wednesday, 2 days out from the NHL trade deadline. And I'll say it again, Laughlin, who was with us in hour one from NHL Radio, he and Gordy Stullock this morning were saying that in their research, with some help from TSN's James Duthie, who will anchor TSN's trade deadline coverage on Friday, the Wednesday, 2 days prior to trade deadline is always has been the busiest day. And so I'm going to read to the sports update, then I'll get to the audience reaction to it. There have been 2 trades so far today. The Florida Panthers have acquired forward Vladimir Tarasenko from Ottawa for a pair of draft picks, and the Sens will retain half his salary. I think we all are familiar with the Tarasenko story. And the Edmonton Oilers have acquired forwards Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick from Anaheim, also for draft picks. So hang on to your bingo cards. We'll get viewer reaction to that in a second. But on the ice, the Maple Leafs host the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Toronto's third in the Atlantic Division and looking for a 10th win in 12 games. And Buffalo enters the game 10 points out of a playoff spot. They're done. And the Senators are in Anaheim. The Atlantic Division bottom-dwelling Sens have lost 4 in a row, including a 4-2 loss at Philly on Saturday to open a 3-game roadie. This sports update is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Horizon, an American saga. In the great tradition of Warner Brothers Pictures' iconic westerns, Horizon, an American saga, explores the lure of the Old West and how it was won and lost through the blood, sweat, and tears of many. Produced by and starring Kevin Costner. And also brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. So to the text line, 902-518-3033, Sober Carpenter text line. You can always reach us there, or at least during show hours, not outside them. 902-518-3033. Big Mike writes in from Edmonton and says, apparently it's official that it's Henrique and Carrick to the Oilers. How good are these players? And I'm actually glad you asked. I think we're all familiar with Adam Henrique. He's, Neugsy said it real good in the last segment. He's not what he once was, but he's still a useful piece. Sam Carrick, can I say role player? How would you feel about that, Clark? 224th line depth guy is what Clark's saying. Clark's fourth line depth guy, I'm saying role player. This might be the kind of guy that puts you over the top. 224 games per career between Anaheim going back to 2014. So he's been in the league a decade, up and down a lot in the minors. Sam Carrick, 224 career games, 26 goals, 48 points. To me, it's a Nugsy said it. Adam Henrique was good, better at one time than he is now. But he was also high on the board, which we got to give TSN some credit. You know, who were their top 3 players, trade bait, going into this NHL trade deadline week? Chris Tanev, gone. Right, to the Dallas Stars. Noah Hannafin, we're waiting. And also Jacob Markstrom. The Flames got to make these deals done within the next 48 hours, right? They have to. It's pretty, well, I'm not going to sit here and talk about stuff that they've been bleeding about for months on Calgary radio and Alberta radio. We all know Noah Hannafin doesn't want to be there, and we now learn that Jacob Markstrom doesn't want to be there. So we wait. But TSN had it right. When Tanev left, Hannafin's still up there, and Adam Henrique was probably top 3 trade bait players, according to TSN. And now here we sit. And Jake Gensel, too, of the Pittsburgh Penguins. But it was only like 10 days ago the Penguins were still trying to figure out whether they were going to be a contender or not. And a 3-game losing streak in the last week answered that for them. So TSN's had it right. Henrique, my point is, a coveted player here at trade deadline time. And it looks like a good move for the Oilers. But here's another one. Tarasenko, nobody here saw that coming. Nobody linked Tarasenko to the Panthers other than Darren Dreger said yesterday Bill Zito will be in on something because he always is. And although we knew he was available, nobody saw him coming here. So I'll say this. Let the GMs do their job. They have the job for a reason. Sit back and watch. It's been a great day. Thanks to Jamie Cooey, Sam Laughlin, and Nugsy. We'll see you tomorrow, noon Eastern, right here.
Who has more fun than us?